Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze reported to Chicago Bears training camp and signed their rookie contracts.
You are Locked On Bears, your daily Chicago Bears podcast.
But it's easy to sit here and have the hindsight to say, okay, yeah, the Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze signed on Tuesday, the day they were supposed to report to training camp, and see there was never anything to worry about. Like, it's easy to do that now that the contracts are signed, but if you're a daily listener of this podcast, we talked about this weeks ago, about how we shouldn't be concerned and that there's no reason to be concerned until there's actual, consequences. Until it becomes a problem, it is not a problem. And it never became a problem. Until Caleb Williams or Rome Odunze was missing training camp, until they were sitting out of practices and not participating because they were unsigned, we had no actual evidence or reason to worry or to suspect that a holdout was coming, right? There were never reports or even rumors of disagreements in negotiations. There were never thoughts of, the word holdout was never put out there by anyone with any sort of credibility behind it. I think the fans were, worried, will there be a holdout? Could there be a holdout? But there was never any actual shred of a holdout could be coming or anything like that. To me, most of this, not all of it, but most of this was, I think, a consequence of some of the lingering pre-draft speculation and concern about Caleb. That was one of the things behind the scenes that some people would come out and say that, maybe he's going to do things in an unconventional way. There was, of course, there were reports, I don't even know exactly how credible these were, that his father wanted Caleb to get a percentage of ownership from the team that drafted him number 1 overall, and that they wanted to break all the rules for the rookie contracts, and that he was going to demand some kind of special contract. But that never really came out as legitimate, right? That was very much distanced from, and not something that we saw repeated credible reporting that was actually a thing. It was an idea that was floated around out there, but I don't know that it ever really had legs. And that was also 6 months ago. I mean, it was last winter is when that concept had even arisen or been floated out there that, hey, maybe Caleb would want to go about things with his rookie contract different, and maybe that would cause some sort of problems. But every single step along the way since then, it has been nothing but cooperation and smiles and joy and glad to be here, glad to have him. Everybody wants this to work. Everyone's on the same page. There was never a big scuttle about this rookie contract and things being so out of whack that the Bears wouldn't be able to get a deal done with Caleb Williams right on time. That's the thing. They're not late. They're on time. It wasn't as early as a lot of the other rookie contracts, but that doesn't mean they weren't late. That doesn't mean they were late. They were not late. They were on time. And even to me, even if Caleb Williams had not signed this contract on Tuesday here as the rookies reported, I don't think it would be late until Friday when the veterans report, because the Bears aren't really going to practice in earnest until after the veterans get there. And even after the veterans get there, there's a ramp-up period, right? So if Caleb Williams signed this contract on Wednesday or Thursday instead of Tuesday, he's still not missing anything. It's not a holdout really at that point. We weren't even right at the deadline of should we be nervous yet? That hadn't happened yet. The only area that I'll concede maybe lent any sort of credence to the idea that, hey, maybe we should keep an eye on in case anything funky happens here, is the idea that, and the fact that Caleb Williams is not represented by an NFL Players Association certified agent. He has gone through this process without an agent, and given our experience seeing Roquan Smith go through some of these processes without an agent, although his rookie contract situation was not the case. He had an agent at that time, and that was still delayed in the process, which kind of undercuts the Caleb Williams thing in its own way. But the fact that he doesn't have an agent, there was a story, I think it was the Chicago Tribune came out and had talked to Caleb Williams, and Caleb had said something along the lines of, I'm not handling that. I'm not handling the contract situation. And if he doesn't have an agent, then who is handling the contract situation? Under the NFL CBA, no one is allowed to negotiate with the Bears except for a Players Association certified agent or Caleb Williams himself. And so if Caleb says, I'm not handling that, and he doesn't have an actual certified agent handling that, then who is handling that. Are the Bears negotiating with someone who they shouldn't be negotiating with, or is no one negotiating this right now? Like, there were, I guess, things that we had questions about because we didn't have enough information on the outside. But just because we didn't know the answer to the question doesn't mean the answer was, hey, this is going to cause a problem. It had the possibility or the potential to maybe cause a problem, but we never knew that it did, and clearly it didn't. And so until we knew that it was causing problems, then we did not know, and then we should assume it wasn't causing problems because it didn't cause problems. Like that's why I keep saying, like, this was never a problem until it became a problem, but it never became a problem, so there was no problem in the first place. There was nothing to worry about. We were never given, like, the smoking gun of, like, hey, we should be worried because this thing happened. Nothing happened. All that happened is he signed a contract, and there was never anything along the way to be worried about. The agent thing is part of that, you know, I guess the equation here, but, like, it wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem in the pre-draft process. It hasn't been a problem since. It isn't a problem now. I don't think it's going to be a problem for any time soon.